I believe that no matter where you finish, it will always be a result of where you begin, be it good or bad. I remember growing up so angry at the world and I never knew why. I think I knew why. I think I was just too afraid of confronting my reasons why. Then I discovered words, books, and film, and I was transformed. I knew at that moment I was set free. I believe in our own way we are all actors and actresses. We only give the world what we want them to see, the good. We never really expose our scars.
Black girl.
Black girl.
Black girl, why you act like that?
Was my parents married when I was conceived? No. They were not married when I was conceived. Was my childhood happy? Yes. My childhood was happy. I remember going places, going to cookout family functions, the Ohio State Fair, which I can remember, playing the games, laughing with my mom, playing with my sister and brother.
Yes, my parents were married when I was conceived. I did grow up in a two-parent home to maybe about the age of 7. My happiest moments during childhood, the ones that I can remember, maybe just going, fishing with my dad and, doing kid stuff.
Were my parents married when I was conceived? No, they were not. And did I grow up in a two-parent home? I absolutely did. Was my childhood happy? Yes, it was. My happiest moments in my childhood being with my family. Just having family.
Were my parents married when I was conceived? Yes, they were. Did I grow up in a two-parent home until I was about 7 years old? Was my childhood happy? For the most part, yes. The happiest moments in my childhood. It would definitely have to be learning how to tie my shoe. That was a happy moment for me.
Were my parents married when I was conceived? Yes, they were. Did I grow up in a two-parent home? No, I did not. Was my childhood happy? For the most part, yes. The happiest moment of my childhood that I can remember was, I would have to say, Christmas of '86. And then just the whole unity of us all being together.
My biggest dream as a child was just, being successful, having a career. When I was growing up, I wanted to become a lawyer. Did anyone ever ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up? Really not too much in my household, but, at school, maybe my teachers, principal, things like that.
Did anyone ever ask me what I want to be when I grow up? No. Nobody never asked me what I wanted to be when I grow up. What was my biggest dream as a child? My biggest dream was to have a big family, be rich, and live in life.
What I want to be when I was growing up, I never thought about that when I was younger because everything was so good. My mother just, as I developed into a teenager, she just wanted me to graduate. So I never thought past graduation. Did anyone ever ask me what I want to be when I grow up? That question you've always asked since kindergarten, even at 5 years from now, and that's just always been something that I couldn't answer. What was my biggest dream as a child? I really didn't have no dream. Just having that, my mother and my father and my brothers, that was just it.
My biggest dream as a child was to be Michael Jackson famous, but it did not happen. Did anyone ever ask me what did I want to be when I grew up? Plenty of teachers. What did I want to be when I was growing up? Truck driver.
Did I believe in myself when I was a child? Yes, I did. Did anybody ever ask me what I wanted to be when I was growing up? Yes. My mother asked me what I wanted to be when I was growing up. Yes, she did always ask me. What did I want to be when I was growing up? I wanted to be a writer, and I wanted to be a film director. That dream absolutely came true, and it's honestly getting better each day.
Did I believe in myself as a child? I can't remember. What will I do different? I would have graduated, went to college, and had a better opportunity out here for my kids, to take care of my kids.
The impact that my childhood left on my life, how to treat people, how to treat people.
Did I believe in myself as a child? Yes, I did. What made me stop believing in myself was peer pressure. The world told me that I wasn't perfect.
The impact my childhood has left on my life, I'm not going to say it really had a bad impact on my life. It's just a lot of things that my mom went through. I can kind of, relate to those things and try to move forward and not have to experience those things. The worst part of my childhood, maybe when my mother and father, my biological father, separated. It was kind of hard, going from house to house and living with different people until my mom got herself together. I believe my childhood was interrupted maybe at about the age of 6 or 7 years old. Some things went on in the household, and we just had to pick up and leave and start all over again.
What was the worst part of my childhood? My mother and father, my dad fighting my mother. My childhood was interrupted when my dad would drink.
What impact has my childhood left on my life? Being that I'm a mother now, that impact is just to be the best mother that I can to my child and not let those mistakes get repeated. What was the worst part of my childhood would definitely have to be when my father left and all responsibility fell on my mother. Do I believe that was when my childhood was interrupted? No, it wasn't. Molestation interrupted my childhood.
What impact has my childhood left on my life? I would say everything, a lot. The worst part of my childhood was, I would have to say when I was about 6 years old, when my grandfather's wife took me to the bathroom, pretty much pulled my pants down, poured hot wax all over my genitals.
When did I believe when my childhood was interrupted? When my father left. What was the worst part of my childhood? Growing up without a father in the home. Was my father a big part of my life? Yes, until the age of 7.
Was my father a big part of my life? I would have to say no, he wasn't.
Was my father a big part of my life? No, my biological father was not a big part of my life, but I had a wonderful stepdad.
Was my father a big part of my life? Until about the age of 6 or 7, yes.
Was my father a big part of my life? He absolutely was. What role did my father play in my life? He played the whole father role and the mother role when my mother was at work. That was getting me up for school, cooking my food, getting me off to school, bringing me lunch to school, which your mother couldn't do when she had a full-time job.
What role did he play in my life? I remember picking me up from school and dropping me off to my grandmother's And I was said,
What role did my father play in my life? Nothing.
What role did my father play in my life? I believe he set the stage for every man that came into my life after he left.
Well, my biological father really didn't play any part of my life, but my stepdad was like Superman to me and my sister. He was everything. My stepdad married my mom maybe when I was about 11. And he just he came right in and took over the dad role. I mean, he took us to church. We never really was, out going to church or anything like that. So he introduced us to the Lord. Just a lot of things. I remember one time sitting in church because I was a real tomboy. So the dresses and all that was just not for me. So I was sitting in church one day, my legs open, you're just sitting there, and he's like, no, like he taught me how to sit, that's somewhat of a mother's job, but he taught me how to sit, just different things to watch out for as a female.
Do I remember what age my father walked out of my life? No, I do not. Did the relationship continue after my father left? No.
The age that my father walked out of my life, I believe I was 6 or 7 years old. My relationship with my father definitely ended when he walked out that day.
What age did my biological father walk out of my life? He didn't necessarily walk out of my life. My mom walked out of his life when I was about 7 years old. Did I continue to have a relationship with him after my mom walked out? We tried to continue to have a relationship with him when my mom walked out, but it was only like he wanted to be bothered when it was convenient for him.
do I remember what age he walked out my life? About 7. Did the relationship continue as he left? No. He went to prison. And that was the last I talked to me until I was about 16. And he called from the prison and he asked how was I doing. And he was asking weird questions that I wasn't comfortable with. And I just said, hold on. I can remember. I said, hold on. Let me let you talk to my mom. So I handed my mom the phone. He was just asking me weird questions. Did I have boobs? And was I going to school, and how tall was I? And that was it.
There was some things going on in that home that made my mother leave. Physical abuse, just a lot of different things. And she just got tired and she just left.
What do I believe made my father leave? He's a coward. It's the only word that comes to mind is he's a coward.
What do I believe made my father leave? I would have to say him and my mother and the violence that played a part in him taking off.
What did I believe that made him leave? My mother didn't want to be with him anymore. And I think that would stop him from coming around. That's what stopped him from coming around. Because my mother didn't want to be with him anymore.
What do I believe makes a man walk out on his child? Again, I would have to say coward. He doesn't want the responsibility. But the word that sticks out to me is coward.
What factors make men walk out on their children? I don't necessarily think a man is walking out on his children when he decides to leave. I think it's more walking out of the mother's life, because there's still some good stepdads out there that, they ended the relationship with the mother, and they're still wonderful stepdads or dads, period.
What do I believe makes a man walk out on his child? Afraid, being scared.
What do I believe what makes a man walk out on his child? The relationship with the child's mother. Did I believe growing up without a father affected my life? Yes.
Do I feel like growing up without my father affected my life? Yes, I do. I would have to say to the point where me having to figure out what a man was.
Do I feel like growing up without a father affected? Yes, definitely. Growing up without a father, especially for a girl, it's the first man you know, the first man you love. So when he left, it affected every relationship after that with a man.
Growing up without my biological father, no, I don't think it affected my life at all, because again, my stepdad, he was wonderful. I couldn't ask for a better stepdad. Like, he was my dad.
The biggest effect that me not having my father in my life had on me, I would have to say, bumping my head through the darkness, figuring out how to become a man, and having a woman, which was my mother, try to teach me how to be a man, which she could not.
I think I would complete a high school just to have that authority, that father authority. Go to school and do what you gotta do, get out, and you'll be all right. Just to hear that.
It closed me off to men and feelings and emotion. No matter how good the relationship is going, in my mind, men leave. So that's basically the biggest impact.
Did my biological father make me angry when my mother left him? He did not make me angry at all, because again, my stepdad played a huge role. He took over his role financially, emotionally, whatever we needed. He was my dad.
Did I believe in him leaving, making me angry? No, because my mother had my sister's father in the house.
Do I believe my father leaving made me angry? I would have to say yes, I do. It definitely did, because I did a lot of banging my head, learning how to be who I am today.
Do I believe when my father left made me angry? Yes, I believe I became angry.
How do I deal with my emotions? I don't. I just keep it to myself.
How did I deal with my emotions? I want to say I became an introvert. I kept a lot of my emotions in.
How did I deal with my emotions? I think I dealt with my emotions by taking it out on men. So that's the only thing I knew to do once a man was in my presence, was to give him everything that I wanted to give to my father. And yes, that's anger.
Would my life be different if my biological stayed around? No, I don't think my life would have been any different had he stayed around. No, I don't think so.
Do I believe if my life been different if he stayed around? Yes.
How do I believe my life would have been different if my father would have stayed around? I think my confidence would have had a major boost. I definitely think that me raising my kids, it would have been a lot easier because I would have had a template to model myself after.
Do I think my life would have been different if my father stayed around? That is a question that I will probably ask myself, but I will never get the answer to because life has went on, so.
Do I feel like I did something to make him leave? No, because I was always daddy's girl, but I didn't respect him for leaving me.
Do I feel like I did something to make my father leave? No, I do not.
Did I do something to make my mother leave my biological father? No. He had his own issues. No, we didn't do absolutely anything for my mom to pick up and leave. She did what was best for her kids.
Do I feel like I did something to make my father leave? No. It was his choice.
Do I feel like him leaving didn't mean that he didn't love me? No, because he would always call from the prison and check and see how I was doing. It was me. I didn't want to get attached to him because he was in prison. No, growing up thinking about a prison, it's like, oh, he's the bad person. I don't want to talk to him. I don't know him.
Do I feel like my father meant he didn't love me by leaving? No.
Did I ever think my biological father didn't love us? No, I think he absolutely loved us. He just had a different way of showing it. But no, I don't think the love was lost there, no.
I feel like my father leaving meant he didn't love me. Yes. Boldly. Blatantly.
What does the word father mean to me? Someone that's there for you, teach you, love you, and guide you in the right direction.
The word father means to me a man that takes care of his kids and provides. There, financially, responsibility, emotionally.
The word father to me is sperm donor.
What does the word father mean to me? Protector, provider, just somebody you can run to when everything is falling apart.
What is my definition of a father? Someone that's there for you. As a child, growing up.
My definition of the word father, I would have to say a caretaker, a man that cares for his kids. There.
My definition of a father is a man that impregnates a woman and they conceive a child.
What is my definition of a father? The first word that comes to my mind is endurance. Sticks around.
Do I have a relationship with my father? I haven't seen him in about 5 years. I don't know where he at.
Do I have a relationship with my dad now? Off and on, phone conversations, more friendship-wise than anything.
Do I have a relationship with my biological father today? I do and I don't. It really just depends because, again, my mom and her sister married brothers. So whenever there's a family function, I have to see them. But we don't have that daughter-father type of bond relationship. It's just like I see them, it's you hug them, hey, how you doing? But other than that, no, I don't think we even have a conversation when I see them.
Do I have a relationship with my father? No, I don't.
Do I feel like children need their father around? Yes. Because it hurts when my kids say, Mom, where your dad at? And I brush it off and tell them, oh, he's out of town. We can go get him. And I just say that, just to brush it off, but I don't know where he at. Oh, I don't know where he at. I don't know where he at.
Do I feel like children need their father around? Yes, they do. It's part of the whole unit, If you got half, then half of you is missing.
I don't have a relationship with my stepfather anymore because unfortunately he passed away in 2005 from a motorcycle accident. But before, yeah.
Do I feel like children need their father around? If the relationship is healthy, yes. But if it's not, maybe it's best that he leaves.
What would I say to my father to make him stay? I don't know. I feel like I really don't know him. I know of him. I really don't know him to make, to answer that.
If I would have said one thing to my father, that would have made him stay. I love you, and think about what my future would become if you walked out.
If I could say one thing to my father, I really don't have anything to say to him. I mean, because we're the kids. He should be apologizing to us or telling us where he went wrong or what happened.
If I could say one thing to my father to have made him stay, what would I have said? Don't go.
If I can say one thing to my father, why did he leave his family? Why do we have to come and look for him? He know where we live at. He haven't talked. One thing about my father, he haven't talked to none of his sisters. He didn't attend none of his sisters' funerals. All three of them is gone. He didn't come. It's like he's missing in action. Like missing. Like don't appear. I don't know if he's dead or alive.
If I can say one thing to my dad right now, I forgive you.
If I could say something to my stepdad, I would just thank him for loving us and pulling us in like we were his own kids. Like he never treated us any different, like we were his kids.
What would I say to my father right now? I forgive you.
What do I think the biggest loss growing up without a father? That father figure. That father that you could call, like, I need this, I need that. Can you come? I didn't have that.
What do I think the biggest loss a child suffers growing up without a father? Half of them. It's missing. Learning how to deal with different relationships, not being able to see a two-parent family home, a functional family home.
I think if a child doesn't have a father figure, I think a child does need a figure in their life, whether it's a biological father, stepdad, because men, they play a huge role in raising children.
What do I think is the biggest loss that a child suffers from growing up without a father? I believe their identity is gone. I believe whichever parent walks out, I believe you have already set that child up. No matter what they achieve in life, no matter what they do in life, you have placed a void in them because you already let them know that you're not good, if you weren't even good enough for me to stick around. So definitely their identity.
What do I think the hardest part of being a single mother would be? I would have to say, having to deal with everything on their own, financially, emotionally, providing.
What do I think the hardest part about being a single mother is? Providing for your kids alone. Having to take care of your kids by yourself.
I think the hardest part about being a single mother is just having to take on the responsibility without, a partner or someone else to help you.
What I think is the hardest part of being a single mother, definitely trying to convince that child that they were wanted and they were not a mistake, no matter what you do. I think outside of financial and the emotional, trying to convince that child, since that other parent walked out, that they weren't a mistake.
Do I think being a single mother affects the child? Of course I do. Very adverse ways. Stress, not having, that other person there that created that child to emotionally be able to turn to and depend on.
Do being a single mother affect a child? You won't know that until you start seeing signs of them acting out. But as long as everything is going smooth, everything is going smooth, then it's like out of sight, out of mind.
Does being a single mother affect the child? I think being a single mother, it just really depends on the child. But as far as, because I wasn't a single mother for long, okay? My son, his father was incarcerated when he was 2 months to the age of 8 years old. But when he was maybe 4 or 5, I met, again, a wonderful man that stepped in to be his stepdad. So, I wasn't a single parent for too long. I had somebody come in and step in.
Do I believe being a single mother affects the child 195%?
How many children do I have? I have 5.
I have one child.
I have one child.
I have a boy, 16, and a girl, 11.
Are my kids by the same woman? No, they're not. But I wish they was.
Are my children by the same man? They are not by the same man.
Yes, my child that I have, he is 19, and he is not by the person that I am married to now, no.
Why do I think women continuously sleep with a man that do not support their child? Hope that one day maybe he'll come around and the sex possibly may keep him, which is definitely wrong.
Why do I think a woman continue to sleep with a man that doesn't support his child? Is they're comfortable with that man. They're comfortable, and they might have seen that growing up where their mother just let a man come in just to have a man around.
Why do women continue to sleep with men that don't support their child? I don't know. I've been wanting to know that for a long time myself. I don't know, because if it were me, you couldn't even smell it. So no, I don't know.
Why do I think women continue to sleep with a man that doesn't support his child? Comfortable. I believe that the hopes of maybe somehow one day having that family unit, which they probably won't get, but I believe that that's the reason why they continue to sleep with a man that doesn't support his child.
Have I slept with my child's mother since my relationship ended? Yes, I have.
Have I slept with my child's father since the relationship ended? My son's father, no. My daughter's father, yes. Once.
As I slept with my son's father since the relationship ended, absolutely not.
Have I slept with my child's father since the relationship ended? No, I have not slept with him.
What comes to mind when I hear the word deadbeat? Coward, a scary man, a man that lacks confidence, not knowing how to be a father, scared of his responsibilities.
What comes to my mind when I hear the word deadbeat? A man who is not taking care of his responsibilities.
What comes to mind when I hear the word deadbeat is a man or woman, because it could be a female as well, that just in no way, shape, or form supports their child.
What comes to mind when I hear the word deadbeat? I think of my father.
What is a deadbeat father? In my words, I would have to say my father, my dad.
What is a deadbeat father to me? A deadbeat father is a human who does not pay, spend, just nothing with the child.
My definition of a deadbeat parent is someone that does not take on responsibility, whether it's financially, emotionally, whatever. They just don't take care of their responsibilities as a parent.
What is a deadbeat father? I'm going to stick with my answer and say a coward.
Do I think the system has failed to keep fathers active in the kids' lives? I think that the system has done a perfect job in separating the family, keeping men out of the kids' lives.
Have the system failed our men into keeping the child active in their lives? No, they haven't. That's their choice.
Has the system failed our children keeping dads active in their children's life? I really don't think the system has anything to do with it. I think it's a choice that the parent makes, and I mean, that's their choice.
Has the system failed in keeping men active in their children's life? No, they have absolutely nothing to do with either parent being in their child's life. No.
What do I think the punishment for a deadbeat father should be? I don't think he should be punished. Judicially, definitely not. He's gonna suffer punishment enough on his own not being there, you know.
What do I think the punishment should be for a deadbeat father? That's something they have to live with. You know, how can someone punish them for what they're not doing when, you know, they're quote unquote an adult, you know? So it shouldn't be no punishment.
I think the punishment for a deadbeat parent, there's really no, like, I would say jail punishment. It's going to be punishment enough when that child gets older and they don't want to have anything to do with you because, you know, again, they've gotten older and they see for themselves what's actually going on. Just the child not wanting to be bothered is punishment enough.
What do I think the punishment should be for a deadbeat father? I believe that life will definitely hand him his punishment.
Do I prefer quality time with my kids or financial quality time? Why? It's definitely, I think, more important than financial, but at the same time, financial plays a major role in the support of a child.
Would I prefer quality time or to provide for them financially? I would do both, because you have to have it financially to spend, you know, to be able to spend quality time too, because not everything is free.
Would I prefer quality time or financially? I would prefer both, but if I had to choose, it would maybe be quality time because they'll always remember those good times that they've had with their mom or dad.
Would I prefer financial or quality time? I would definitely say both because the mother carries that burden of emotional and financial. So definitely, I personally, I want both.
Was I in a relationship with the mothers of my children when they were conceived? Yes, I was.
Was me and my child's father in a relationship at the time they were conceived? Yes, we were.
When my child was conceived, yes, me and his father was in a relationship.
Was I in a relationship with my child's father when that child was conceived? I was not in a relationship when that child was conceived, but he was. He was married. I didn't know in the beginning. And long story short, we now have a child together.
Why do I think there's so many single mothers? I feel they get tricked. A big part of them get tricked. Searching, and it just doesn't happen. And they gravitate towards guys. And a lot of the times they come from single parent family homes also, which in turns, they don't know what type of man to actually pick in their lives, you know, to be part of their family structure that they have in their mind.
Why do I feel like there are so many single mothers? Because a man don't know what he want. He see this woman, he want her, and then he see that woman, he want that woman can't make up his mind on what he wants.
I think there are so many single mothers because it's kind of hard for a mother just to walk out, on their child. I'm not saying it's not easy for a man, but, it's kind of, I'm not going to say untraditional for a mother to just lead her child, but it's more easy for a man to walk out. And nowadays, women are getting artificially inseminated, they choose to be a single mother. They don't want to have to deal with the other half, so.
Why do I believe there are so many single mothers? Because we do not take the time to really get to know the father and what they want. And I think even women too, we think down here instead of up here and sometimes here. So I believe that's the reason.
Do I feel anger and bitterness towards my kids' mothers? Yes, I do. Due to the fact that when the relationship ended, it was almost as if they used my kids as pawns over top of me. Let's do that. If you're not here, you can't see them. And it was a lot of that.
Do I feel anger or bitterness? No, because I just gotta keep doing what I'm doing. Being angry and bitterness is gonna get me looking old, gray hairs, and just tired.
Do I feel any anger or bitterness towards my son's father? Yes, I do. And it's not because of me and our relationship. It's because when he got released, again, he never tried to have a relationship with my son. So when my son goes to visit him, and it's like when he got out, he was just angry. Like when my son went over there, my son was always calling me like he's yelling at me. Like he was just angry and chastising my son. And my son didn't know this man. Like, you haven't been in his life for 8 years. So my son's looking at me like, come get me. I don't even know who this is. So yeah, I feel bitter and angry because he should have got to know his son when he got out.
Do I feel angry or bitter towards my daughter's father? Absolutely not, because once again, it will reflect on the way I raise my child. So no, I'm not angry or bitter with him.
Knowing what I know now, would I do things differently? Yes, I would. Definitely. I would have took my time with myself, got me together first before I started a family, and made sure I was put together and had a future for them to give.
Knowing what I know now, would I do things differently? No, because I wouldn't have the 2 kids I have today.
Knowing what I know now, yes. I tell my son this all the time. I love him to death, to the moon and back. But yeah, I would have got to know his dad a little better before I laid down with him. And I always tell my son too, don't lay down with nobody you don't want to spend the rest of your life with, because it's hard.
Knowing what I know now, what would I have done differently? I probably would have did a lot more research on him. And that's about it. I can't really say much of anything else because to me, personally, that would be regretting my child. So, and I don't regret my daughter.
What would my advice be to single mothers? Keep doing what you're doing, as hard as it may be, and just don't give up on your kids.
What would my advice to be for other single mothers? Don't bring no mess into your blessings, and everything will be all good.
My advice would be to other single mothers is, like, you're not the first, not going to be the last, and you can do it. I mean, it's going to be hard, but you can do it.
What would be my advice to other single mothers? Take it one day at a time, and know that you're doing the best that you can, and keep on going. Have I ever been a victim of molestation? Yes.
Have I ever been a victim of molestation? No, I have not.
Have I ever been a victim of molestation? No, I have never been a victim of molestation.
Have I ever been a victim of molestation? No, I wasn't. No, I haven't.
Do I know someone that's been a victim of molestation? Yes, and I too, myself, have been a victim of molestation.
Do I know someone? I know many people who's been a victim.
Do I know someone that's been a victim of molestation? Yes, I do. My sister, actually, at the hands of our biological father, yes.
Do I know someone who has been a victim of molestation? Yes, I do. Yeah.
I don't, do I believe molestation is on the rise? I don't believe it's on the rise. I just believe that it's coming more to the forefront where it's kind of been swept under the rug. So it's not on the rise, it's just being exposed.
Do I believe molestation is on the rise and why? Yes, I do, because people don't come forth when it's happening to them when they're little kids, because someone can tell you they'll kill your mother, they'll kill your father. And so even though us as adults know that someone will come and say something to you that's drastic, little kids don't know that what that adult is saying to them that's drastic is actually not true. They just don't want you to say nothing.
I believe molestation is on the rise because it seems like women now are just letting strangers around their kids. I mean, and then they're dropping them off to any and everybody because it's a free babysitter, which that free babysitter could be preying on your kids.
Do I believe molestation is on the rise? Yes, I do. Internet, cell phones, kids have. We hear about it in the news all the time. Yeah, easier access.
What is the word that comes to mind when I think of the word child molester? Deaf.
What word comes to mind when I think of child molester? A sick individual.
The word that comes to mind when I think of a child molester is sick, and a soul murderer, because that's what he's doing, murdering these kids' souls.
What word comes to mind when I think of child molester? Sick.
Do I believe it's their fault that they molest kids? I'm kind of on the fence with this because 9 times out of 10, it's probably happened to them. So, it's a tough question.
Do I believe it's their fault? Yes, it's their fault because you have to take your actions for what you do. But then again, it might be something that's been in like a generational curse. It's been going on in their family forever to make them do that to someone else. That's so innocent.
Do I believe it's their fault that they molest kids? Absolutely. It is their fault they molest kids. It's premeditated, it's thought about. I mean, you have to gain these kids' trust in order for these kids to let you in. So, yeah, I do think it's their fault.
Do I believe it's their fault they molest kids? Yes, I do.
Do I think I can spot the signs of an abused child? Yes. Just given the fact that I was molested, I would definitely know the signs of a molested child.
Do you think you can spot the signs of an abused child? Nowadays, people know how to hide stuff so good to make people not notice that it can, my opinion, it can be hid.
Can I spot the signs of an abused child? It just really depends on the child, to be honest. But if a child that's around me maybe or is touching another child inappropriately or doing something to their self inappropriately, then yeah, those are signs that I could pick up on.
Do I believe I can spot the signs of an abused child? Yes, I do. A lot of times they withdrawn, recluse, don't want to have too much interaction.
What signs do I think would make me believe a child has been violated? Wetting the bed, not really wanting to be around that person, lost appetite, just emptiness and the disconnect with other people and things around them.
What make you think they've been violated? It can be a little girl who's saying her tutu hurt at the point in time where it shouldn't be hurting. And it can be for a little boy, his bottom's hurting where his bottom shouldn't be hurting. So that's something. Or just acting out, you know, going off to themselves, not wanting to be around nobody. Just, you know, just the whole change of a person. Like when somebody say, what's wrong? Something had to happen to that person.
What would make me believe that a child had been violated? Their actions, their emotions.
Do I feel molestation is repeated? Yes, I do. And I believe that molestation had to be learned from someone to be repeated.
Do I feel molestation is repeated? Yes, I do. It's been around probably before even though I haven't been in that situation, it's been around since my grandmother's time.
I absolutely feel molestation is repeated, yes.
Do I feel molestation is repeated? Yes, I do.
Why do I think it's such an act is repeated? Because the person don't say anything to another person. They keep it bottled into themselves thinking something that happened to their family members, or maybe they feeling like they're protecting their younger sibling, you know. Then again, depending on what age range it is, the girl can like the guy and feel that he's really not doing anything wrong due to what he's saying to her. But at the end of the day, that's what it is.
I think such an act is repeated because they got away with it.
Why do I think such an act is repeated? The abused sometimes become the abusers.
Do I think a person that has been sexually abused, can they regain their innocence? No. No, and if you're not a strong person, it can honestly make you a horrible person.
Do I think the abused regain their innocence? No, once your innocence is taken, that's about it. It's taken. You can't get it back.
Do I think a kid can regain their innocence? No, because their innocence was taken away from them. You got that one time. That's, you know, no, their innocence was taken away.
Do I think the abused can regain their innocence again? No, I do not. I mean, once it's taken, it's gone.
Do I believe a child would ever be the same after molestation? No. Not at all.
Do I think that a child would ever be the same experience in molestation? No, because it sends them into an older form. It just stripped them from their youth. You know, now put them of knowing something that they didn't know nothing about. So it would never be the same. That would be something in their mental for the rest of their life, if they share it with others or not.
Will a child ever be the same? No, I don't think a child will ever be the same. I mean, it's those psychological scars, and no, it's going to always be in the back of their mind. No.
Do I think the child can never be the same? No, I think that child could learn to live from the incident that took place in his or her life, yeah.
What does a child lose after they're molested? Anything in this world that they ever thought was good.
What do the victim lose? The victim can lose a lot, because it can be a person that they really trust. It can be a family member that they never thought that would do that to them. So what do they lose? They lose a part of their, I want to say, like, they lose a piece of their inside. You know, how can somebody do that to me, you know?
I think the victim loses everything, their self-esteem, confidence. They lose everything.
What do I believe a victim possibly could lose after molestation takes place with them? I would have to say respect of themselves, power, someone took it away from them. I would say they lose their whole childhood.
Do I believe the wounds ever heal after being molested? No, they never heal. I believe that you probably go through a lot of Band-Aids, but it will never heal.
Do I think the wounds ever really heal? No, because the older you get, it's just, you know, the more memories you get. Unless something traumatizing happened to where it just wiped that memory about your brain. Until other than that, that memory is with you forever.
Does the wounds ever heal? No, I don't think the wounds will ever heal. You can forget about it, but I mean, and I'm not going to really say forget about it. You can put it in the back of your mind, but even in a relationship, it's always going to be there.
Do I think the wounds would ever fully heal from molestation? No, I do not. Growing up in a home where it was really close to me, with the individual that it took place with, I can say the wounds don't heal.
Can the abuser be forgiven? Personally, I would forgive, because if I don't, I would have to carry all that anger around with me. So I believe they can be forgiven, unfortunately.
Can the abuser be forgiven? Honestly, you just follow what God say to forgive and forget. But that forgive and forget, that's on a person's own time of how they choose to forgive. But you know, that's something you'll never forget. It's something that's in your mind. But just holding on to it, it'll just make you sick. So I would say forgive them and just go on with your life.
Do I think the abuser can ever be forgiven? The Bible tells us to forgive, but if it were my child, I don't think I could forgive. No.
Can the abuser be forgiven? No, but they should, for the abused to possibly be able to move forward in life.
Do I believe the abuser should be forgiven? Only for the sake of the abused, for their peace of mind. Yes, I do.
Do I think the abuser should be forgiven? Not to contradict what I'm saying, but no, because he knew what he was doing, or she, before they made that move to touch an innocent child.
What do I think is the mental state of an abuser? A controlling, manipulating state of mind.
What do I think the mental state of an abuser? It's just a individual who's sick.
What I think the mental state of the abuser, I'm not sure what they think. I don't know. I don't know.
What do I think the mental state of the abuser is? That I do not know.
How do the victim move forward? I would say just keep doing what you got to do to keep going on in this life. You know, keep paddling, because when you stop paddling, you sink. And when you sink, it's sometimes hard to get back up. So just don't let the person who done that to you win by you giving up.
How does a victim move forward after molestation? I definitely think they can move forward. It can be done. Again, just some counseling, talking to people. The most healing is to talk about it. Get it off your chest. Just talk about it. That's the most That's the best way to deal with it. You don't have to talk about it. If you keep it locked in, it's just going to eat you up.
How do I think the victim could ever move forward, if they ever do move forward? By realizing that it wasn't their fault. It happened, and just move on from it as much as you can, as best as you can. It wasn't your fault.
Do I remember the first time I fell in love? Yes. I was maybe 15 when I met this person and 17 when I actually fell in love with him.
Do I remember the first time I fell in love? Yes, I do. What was it like? I want to say almost like the feeling you get when you're going down a roller coaster. Get ready to go up.
Do I remember the first time I fell in love? Yes, I was 18 when I fell in love. Well, when I thought I fell in love. Yeah, I was 18.
Do I remember the first time I fell in love? Yes.
Do I remember the first time I fell in love? I'm not gonna say it's love, but I remember when I had that feeling.
The first time I had my heart broken was by the person I fell in love with, maybe about the age of 18.
When was the first time I had my heart broken? I would have to say my mother. My mother.
Do I remember the first time I had my heart broken? Yes, and it was from my father, so I was about 6, 7 years old. Yes.
When was the first time I had my heart broken? In 2012, when my daughter was born.
When was the first time I had my heart broken? I was actually in 7th grade.
Have I ever witnessed domestic violence? Yes, I have witnessed domestic violence. Yep, growing up in my house, in my parents' home. I witnessed some domestic violence. Yeah, and my mom just one day got tired, and she cut him from his throat all the way to his belly button, like she was gonna perform open heart surgery. I mean, blood was everywhere, but they still went on like nothing happened.
Have I ever witnessed domestic violence? Yes, I have.
Have I ever witnessed domestic violence? Yes.
Have I ever witnessed domestic violence? Yes. I was involved in domestic violence.
Have I ever witnessed domestic violence? Yes, I have.
Well, the impact it had on my life, I vowed to just try to never go through it, but you never know what life and the devil brings.
What kind of impact did domestic violence have on my life? Well, as a child, it took my father out of my life, and then for myself, it separated my kids from me also.
What impact did domestic violence have on my life? It definitely, outside of physical scars, it left me with a lot of emotional scars.
What impact does domestic violence have on my life? It makes you feel like you're nothing. Like nobody out here. There's nobody out here that will take you other than that person who is abusing you.
What impact did domestic violence have on my life? Just be aware of the signs of what domestic violence is.
Do I think domestic violence is only physical? No, I don't think domestic violence is only physical. It's emotional, verbal, psychological. I mean, that's the worst, psychological, because you don't see the bruises and the scars, you know.
Do I think domestic violence is only physical? No. Mental, physical, and also financial. And then it could be others in between also.
When I say domestic violence is only physical, absolutely not. I think it actually starts off verbally, and soon that smack turns into a kick and goes on from there.
Is domestic violence only physical? No.
Is domestic violence only physical? No, it's not. It's physical and it's mental.
Do I think people who have been a victim of domestic violence lack self-respect? Yes, I do think they lack self-respect. Their self-esteem may not be too high either, but yes.
Do I think the abused lack self-respect? No, I do not. The reason why I say no, I know they don't, is because it's not their fault. I mean, you just never know.
Do I think a domestic violence victim lacks self-respect? In my situation, personally, yes, because anybody with any respect would not let somebody beat on them.
Do I think the abused lack self-respect? Yes.
Do I think the abuse lacks self-respect? Yes, because it's being done to them.
Have I ever been a victim of domestic violence? Yes, I have. And had I not left, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
Have I ever been a victim of domestic violence? Yes. Yes, I have.
Have I ever been a victim of domestic violence? Yes, I have.
Have I ever been a victim of domestic violence? Yes, I have.
Have I ever been a victim of domestic violence? No, I haven't.
How long did I stay in a relationship? I was with this person maybe about a year and 6 months, and it actually took me maybe 4 months to escape and get out of the relationship.
How long did I stay? I would have to say I was a child, so really I didn't have a choice.
How long did I stay in that relationship? For 2 years.
How long did I stay? For 2 years.
I think it may be hard to leave a relationship when you're going through domestic violence. For me, it wasn't too much kids because that wasn't my son's father. But other women, it could be kids. They don't want to leave because of their children. Or maybe they just don't want to start all over it. Is it somebody they're familiar with?
What do I think would be so hard to leave a situation with domestic violence going on? Loving that person and then maybe feeling like there's hope for that person to be who they once was with you.
Why do I think it's so hard to leave a relationship with domestic violence? I would again have to say personally, in my situation, I believe like he had control of my mind. So, I think it's a mental thing. Once they have control of your mind, everything else just follows behind.
What made me stay? The love I have for this man and the attention that he received on the outside.
Why do I think it's so hard to leave? Just that person. It's something about that person. You know, it's just something about that person that you overlook that part in his life, you know, that part, because everything else can be so good, you know. It's just that little piece that he has going on is where he uses his hands or attacks with his mouth.
I think most women return to an abusive relationship because the party probably more than likely came and showed remorse or just bought them things. A lot of women go back for material things.
What do I think man or a woman would keep returning to an abusive relationship would be? Hope, fear of the unknown, scared of, what worse may be out there for them.
Why do I believe most women return to an abusive spouse? I would definitely have to say, not in my situation, but kids, bills, um, sex. I would definitely say those are some of the factors.
Why do I think most women return the love that they have for that individual? The past that they had.
Why do I think most women return once they're comfortable with that man? You know, some people, that's all they know, you know. And he can, at first, he can treat you so good. And then in the middle, when he got you right where he wants you, he's doing different things, you know. And you just keep on going on because, like, you know, on this end, he treats me good, you know. But on this end, it's like, it didn't put you in the hospital, you know, so it really wasn't nothing.
Can a person love you and still abuse you? I absolutely believe that a person can love you and still abuse you. And most of the time, you know, their frustration, they take it out on the person they love the most.
Can a person love you and still abuse you? Sad to say, I would have to say yes.
Can a person love you and still abuse you? No, because love doesn't hurt. No.
Can a person love you and still abuse you? Yes.
Can a person love you and still abuse you? Nope, you cannot love me and abuse me at the same. You can't.
So I believe most victims stay for love. I believe most victims stay because of their children.
Do I think most victims stay for love? Love and fear. Yes, I do.
Do I believe most victims stay for love? Domestic violence? No, they don't stay for love. They stay for the hopes of one day waking up and he's going to change. I believe the love left a long time ago, probably after that first hit. So,
Do I think most victims stay for love? Yes. Because there are some victims don't get it, no, you know, they don't get that attention elsewhere.
Do I believe most victims stay for love? Yes, I believe they do stay for love.
Do I blame the victim for staying at all? Yes, I do, because I blame myself. You know, here's my son that is, you know, this person that I have to take care of, and I felt like I was failing him as a parent because I stayed.
Do I ever blame the victim for staying? I really can't say. Everybody's circumstances are different, but in the end, they are responsible for their own actions.
do I blame the victim for staying in a domestic violence relationship? I definitely don't want to blame the victim because most don't make it out. So, no, I do not blame the victim.
Do I blame the victim for staying? Yes, I do. Because if you have a chance to get out and go, you should go.
Do I blame the victim for staying? No, because that ain't like that. Even though that's what's going on, like, that's not my place. You know, to blame them, judge them, or anything, that's something that they have to learn.
Know what I know now, what I would do differently, maybe just get to know him a little better before moving him in around my son.
What would I have done differently in my situation? Kept my hands to myself, walked out a lot more, communicated.
What would I have done differently in a domestic violence relationship? I would have left the first time I was hit and never looked back.
What would I have done differently? The first time he abused me physically, I would have moved on.
What would I have done differently? I would tell somebody. I wouldn't just keep it to myself as if I don't know what's going on with that person. I would speak up the first time versus seeing it happen 10 times.
Do I believe once an abuser, always an abuser? I do believe once an abuser, always abuser. It really depends on how bad the physical abuse was. But usually, yes, I believe once an abuser, always an abuser, because this is not something that he just woke up and said, you know, one day I'm just going to wake up and whoop her ass. He was doing this in previous relationships. Believe me, I wasn't the first.
Do I believe once an abuser, always an abuser? No, I don't. Because me, myself, and I, being someone that was a perpetrator of domestic violence, I can sit here and tell you today, I've changed. So, no.
Do I believe once an abuser, always an abuser? No, because I do believe that people change, but as with anything else in life, if there's a trigger, probably gonna pull it. But I do believe that people change.
Do I believe once abuser, always abuser? No.
Do I believe once an abuser, always an abuser? No, I don't. And I say that because growing up, my dad had when he drank alcohol, he would physically abuse my mother. And I was there because I was the shield, you know, thinking that it would stop him from doing that to my mother. As we got older and he see that we could, you know, we're all older now, it stopped. And so it's been since then, to give it 35 years or more, that he have not ever put his hands back on my mother. So they can change, especially if it wasn't not with the drinking, he was okay. It was with the drinking. So when he changed that drinking, he changed that abuse.
Is there hope for the abuse? Absolutely, there's hope for the abuse. I mean, you might have some minor setbacks, but there's definitely hope.
Do I think there's hope for the abused and the abuser? Yes, I do.
Is there hope for somebody that has been in a domestic violence relationship? Definitely, because I'm sitting here. So, yes, I do believe that there is hope for domestic violence victims.
Is there hope for the individual? Yes. Because you can move on and not even think about that person, you know.
Is there hope for the abuse? Yes, there's hope. Yes, there is hope.
What I would say to someone that's in an abusive relationship is to get out, get your kids and leave, because it's not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse.
What would I say to anyone in an abusive relationship right now? Get out as quietly, as fast as possible.
What would I say to someone that's in an abusive relationship right now? The only thing I could say is when you've had enough, when you've personally had enough, you'll leave. You will leave.
What would I say to a person that's in an abusive relationship right now? That first sign that you see, take off.
What would I like to say to someone in an abusive relationship right now? Get out. Get out of the relationship. You know, everything that you're doing with him, you can be doing by yourself or you can be doing with someone else. You know, ain't no sense of your kids if you have kids by him. See, you have to go through that or have to be without a mother behind whatever he's going through.
If given an opportunity, I've seen him numerous times after I left the relationship, but nothing. I don't have anything to say.
What would I say to the person that abused me? I forgive you, and what happened to you in your life that allowed you to do what you done to me?
What would I say to the person that abused me? Ironically, we actually spoke after 20 years, and I said what I believe was needed to say is, I forgive you.
What will I say to the person that abused me? I will ask them why.
If I was in that situation, what would I say to a person who abused me? First, I want to know why. Like, why did you do that to me? And then we'll go from the why.
Has love ever hurt me? Yes, just not because of physical abuse. I mean, I've been in other relationships where they've cheated, lied. So yeah, love has hurt me.
Has love ever hurt me? Yes, it has. My father left. My mother's sending me different group homes, different various places. So yeah, love hurts.
Has love ever hurt me? No, love has never hurt me. People have hurt me, but love, love has kept me from hurt.
Has love ever hurt me? My opinion of love don't exist.
I can't say love hurt me because love is at a standstill, you know? That person hurted me.
My definition of love would be my mother. I mean, she took care of us through it all. I mean, regardless of how much stress she was under, she still provided and she still stayed there. She never left. She's still there.
My definition of love is honesty, loyal, respect, showing that person, actions speaking louder than words, shall I say, just to put it in one.
What is my definition of love? Trustworthy, caring.
My definition of love is a feeling. It's when you get this fulfillment that when this other person is gone, you feel empty. That's my definition of love.
What is my definition of love? Caring, support. I always say endurance because love, you have to endure so much. So I would definitely say a definition of love is endurance, to keep on going even when you don't want to. And I think that love will definitely get you there.